In this video, we're going to be talking about applying our percent strategies that we have learned so far. So really, we're not going to learn any new strategies to calculate percents. We're just going to be applying the strategies that we've already learned, and we're going to be applying them to tax, tips, and commissions. So the questions we want to answer in this video are, how do I use percents to solve tax problems? How do I use percents to calculate tips? And how do I use percents to calculate commission? So how do I use percents to solve tax problems? So a tax is an additional amount of money charged on items that people buy. So when you go to the store and buy things, you have to pay an additional charge. That's called a tax. And a tax is typically measured with a percent. It's a percentage of the price that you pay for an item. So the total cost of what you're going to pay for something is going to be the price of that item plus the tax that you have to pay on that item. So how do you find a tax? Tax is a percent, so the tax is the part and the price is the whole. So that's how we can think of that relationship. So you can use either the percent proportion or percent equation to find the amount of the tax. So you can use the proportion to find the part, or you can find the equation to find the part. Either way, you'll find the part of the price, and that's the tax. And then we're going to add that tax onto the price to get the total cost. So let's take a look at a couple examples of calculating a tax. Drew wants to buy exercise equipment that costs $140 and the tax is 5.75%. What is the total cost of the equipment? So the cost of the equipment is $140, but we have to pay 5.75% of that extra in tax. So we have to find the part when the whole is the price of the equipment and the percent is the tax that we have to pay. And remember, I'm using the percent equation here. And remember that the percent in the equation is always written as a decimal. So that's what I'm doing in this example. The tax is going to be the cost of the equipment times the percentage. That'll tell us our tax, and the 5.75% as a decimal is 0.0575. I divided that by 100 to convert that percent to a decimal, remember? And then when I multiply those together, I get $8.05 or 8.05. So that's the amount of tax that we're going to have to pay. So then step two, I have to add that onto the price to get the total cost, because the total cost is the price plus the tax. So the equipment costs $140. The tax is $8.05. I add those together to get a total cost of $148.05 after tax. So the tax is the part, the price is the whole. Another example, a haircut costs $20 and the sales tax is 4.75%. What is the total cost of the haircut? So again, step one is find the part, which is the tax. So part equals whole times percent as a decimal. The price of the haircut was $20. The percent was 4.75% tax. So that as a decimal is 0.0475. I multiply those together to get a total of 95 cents in tax. And then I have to add that tax on to the cost of the haircut to get the total cost of the haircut, which was $20.95. And that's finding total cost and tax. So what about tips? How do I use percents to calculate a tip? Well, a tip, or sometimes called a gratuity, is a small amount of money paid in return for a service. So there are some situations in society where you pay a little bit extra when you get a service. So that would be like your waiter or waitress at a restaurant, or a taxi, or hotel workers, any service industry. You would pay them a little bit extra for their services, and that's usually a percentage of what your cost was there. And that's called a tip or a gratuity. So how do you calculate a tip? Again, the tip is the part, and the price that you paid for the service is the whole. So all of these problems we're solving, tax, tips, and commissions, these are all parts of wholes. So that's why we put them together, because they're all solved very similarly. So again, we can use the percent proportion or the percent equation to find the amount of the tip. So again, we're finding the part when we know the whole. So your meal at a restaurant costs $35 and you want to leave a 15% tip. How much should you leave, and what will be the total cost of the meal, including the tip? So the cost of our meal was $35, and we're going to leave a 15% tip, which is pretty typical. So again, we're going to use the part to whole relationship. I didn't use the proportion, I'm using the equation because it's a little bit faster to do. And remember that percent is always written as a decimal. So the cost of our meal was $35, and we want to find 15% of that, so that's 0.15 as a decimal. And then when I multiply those together, I get 5.25, so that's $5.25 that we want to leave for a tip. So we should leave a $5.25 tip if we want to leave a 15% tip. So the total cost of the meal will be the cost of the meal plus the tip, and that's going to be $40.25. So you can see that's very similar to calculating a tax, but it's a tip instead of a tax, calculated the exact same way. So I'm just going to do one example of that. And then finally, how do you use percents to calculate commissions? A commission is a percentage of a sale that a salesperson keeps as income. So some people don't get paid by the hour, or some people don't get paid a salary. They get paid on commission. That means they get paid a portion of the sales that they make. So they get motivated to sell a little bit more, so then they make a little bit more. So how do you calculate a commission? Again, the commission is the part, and the price or their total sales is the whole. So again, this is a part to whole relationship, just like tax and just like tips. So we're going to use the percent proportion or the percent equation to find the amount of the commission earned. So let's see an example here. William is a real estate agent and earns 3% commission on his sales. So everything he sells, he gets to keep 3% of that as income. If his sales were $630,000 in the last 3 months, how much commission did he earn? So again, I'm going to use the part equation, percent equation. So part equals whole times percent as a decimal. So to find his commission, we're going to take his total sales, which were $630,000, and multiply that by the percent he gets to keep as a decimal, 0.03, and then we get 18,900 is the part. That's 3% of his sales. So William earned $18,900 in commission on those sales. Again, very similar to tax and very similar to tips. And then finally, Sophia earns 5% commission selling cell phone contracts. Last month, she sold 341 cell phone contracts worth a total of $38,192. What was her income last month? So again, she earns 5% of everything she sells, and she sold a total of $38,192 in cell phone contracts. So we want to find that part. So the part is the whole times percent as a decimal. So this was her total sales, and she earns 5% of that. So that's 0.05. When I multiply those together, I get 1,909.6. So that's $1,909.60 that Sophia earned in commission. So tax, tips, and commission, these are all parts, and then we're given the whole. So these are part to whole percent problems, and we can solve those using the percent equations like I showed in all the examples, or you can still use the percent proportion too if you prefer to do that.